The Coin Collector's Dream, 1927, S. Lincoln Cents and the Allure of Easy Fortune. I still remember the precise moment the ordinary kitchen table transformed into a landscape of glittering possibility. It happened so quietly that a casual viewer might have missed the shift, yet for me it remains one of the most tender turning points in the entire series. Jerry, with the casual authority of a child who has just discovered a secret the adults have overlooked, produces the coin collector's book and announces that the penny Lucy gave him the previous week is worth 50 cents. It says right here in my coin collector's book that it's worth 50 cents. The line is delivered without fanfare, yet Lucille Ball's face receives it as if a small sun has risen inside the room. Her eyes widen, her mouth softens into a shape that is half smile and half wonder, and the entire atmosphere changes. Even now, decades later, this moment makes me feel a private ache of recognition. I was that child once, clutching some small ordinary object and believing it might contain a fortune large enough to alter the shape of the world. Ball never mocks the belief, she honors it with the full force of her attention. What always moves me most about this sequence is the speed with which hope multiplies. Vivian, ever the cautious counterweight, leans in to examine the book and confirms the valuation. See here, it's a 1927 S. Lincoln penny. The date and mint mark are spoken with the reverence usually reserved for family heirlooms. Lucy's response is pure unfiltered delight. She turns to Jerry with an offer that is half joke and half genuine partnership. Jerry, how about splitting 50-50? The boy's quick retreat. Oh Viv, I was only kidding, Mom. I'm going right down to the coin dealers and sell it, is met with the protective affection that defines so much of Lucy's motherhood. Okay honey, but you be careful crossing Main Street. Now that I've got 50 cents, I'll be extra careful. The line is light, yet it carries the full weight of a woman who measures safety in the same careful units she uses for rent and groceries. I can still hear the particular cadence Ball gave those words, the way the humor never quite erased the underlying tenderness. The book itself becomes a character in these minutes. Lucy seizes it with the hunger of someone who has waited years for a map to buried treasure. Page after page yields new revelations. Hey look, there's a Lincoln penny worth $2. Oh, there's one worth $10. Each discovery is received with an escalation of voice and gesture that feels entirely organic. When she reaches the 1877 Indian head penny, valued at $800, the sound that escapes her is almost a sob of pure possibility. Lucy, listen to this. There's an 1877 Indian head penny worth $800. 800. Oh, the repetition of the number is not theatrical excess. It is the sound of a mind trying to hold an amount of money that has previously existed only in the realm of fantasy. Ball's body participates fully in the revelation. She leans closer to the page, her shoulders rising as if the printed figure might lift her physically from the chair. I have watched this beat hundreds of times, and each viewing still produces the same soft internal shift. The kitchen, with its temperamental disposal and its ledger of small deprivations, suddenly contains a horizon. The subsequent inventory of household coins is a masterclass in the comedy of escalating obsession. Lucy begins pulling every piece of change she can find, examining dimes and nickels and quarters with the intensity of a gemologist. What I got here now? It's a penny. There's a penny. I don't have any penny. Penny change it all. Let's see now. No, let's see. How much is this dime worth? Dime, 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 dime. Just a minute. A dime, a nickel, a nickel. Let me see what the weight. Just a minute. I find about this nickel. No, let me see what the quarter's worth. Oh dear. That's all I have. Well, it cleans me out. The monologue is delivered at a pace that borders on panic, yet Ball never loses the thread of genuine hope. Each coin is held up to the light of the book's authority and found wanting. The cookie jar has already been emptied 2 weeks earlier. The rainy day fund has already been spent on an actual rainy day. The accumulation of small defeats only sharpens the longing for a single decisive windfall. See, what we need is a big pile of money. Then maybe we'd get lucky. The line is spoken with the quiet conviction of someone who has calculated every other avenue and found them closed. I return to this sequence the way one returns to the memory of a first decisive hope. In the mid-1960s, the idea that a single rare coin might transform a household's fortunes was not entirely fanciful. Coin collecting had entered the popular imagination with a force that modern audiences sometimes forget. Newspaper advertisements, hobby shops, and the occasional newspaper story of a forgotten penny turning into a small fortune fed a widespread if modest dream of sudden elevation. Ball and the writers understood the cultural current perfectly. They did not invent Lucy's obsession, they simply gave it the most precise and affectionate embodiment possible. When she declares that the only place one could get a big pile of money today is a bank, the statement lands with the force of inevitability. The kitchen has yielded all it can. The next stage must be institutional. The physical comedy of these minutes is quieter than the disposal sequence, yet no less precise. Ball's hands become instruments of pure curiosity. She turns each coin over with a delicacy that somehow remains comic, as if the metal itself might bruise. Her eyes flick from coin to page and back again with the rapidity of a mind performing rapid arithmetic. The slight forward lean of her torso, the way her free hand rests against the table for balance. The sudden stillness when a promising date appears, all of it is recorded with the transparency that was Ball's particular genius. There is no distance between the actress and the longing. She does not perform hope, she inhabits it so completely that the viewer is pulled inside the same current. Vivian's presence in these moments is essential. Vance never allows the character to become a mere spectator. Her initial skepticism softens into a shared, if more measured excitement. When she confirms the value of the 1927s, the confirmation is delivered with the careful weight of someone who understands both the possibility and the danger of believing too quickly. The friendship between the two women is never more visible than in these small transfers of attention. They lean over the same book, breathe the same air of sudden possibility, and for a few luminous minutes the ordinary constraints of rent and coats and temperamental appliances fall away. I have always found this shared absorption deeply moving. It is the image of two women granting each other permission to dream in a world that rarely offered them such permission. The cultural texture of the sequence continues to deepen upon repeated viewing. The casual reference to the cookie jar already emptied, the rainy day money already spent, the Christmas club account that cannot be touched, all of these details root the comedy in a specific economic reality. Single women and widows in the 1960s navigated a financial landscape that offered limited independent power. Lucy's rapid calculation of every available coin is not merely comic business, it is the visible record of a life lived at the edge of solvency. Ball never asks the audience to pity the character. She asks only that we recognize the particular quality of hope that can still flare under such conditions. That recognition has stayed with me longer than any formal analysis of the series. As the scene prepares to leave the kitchen, the emotional architecture remains perfectly intact. The 1927's Lincoln scent has done its work. It has opened a door that Lucy cannot resist walking through. The bank, with its promise of capital and its formidable gatekeeper in the person of Mr. Mooney, waits just beyond the frame. Yet the true subject of these minutes is not the eventual loan or the eventual chaos. It is the pure, unguarded moment in which an ordinary penny becomes a talisman of transformation. Ball holds that moment with such steadiness that it continues to glow decades later with the same soft light I first saw as a child sitting cross-legged on the living room floor. I have returned to this sequence on gray afternoons and late nights, always finding the same quiet gift. The coin book still opens. The 1927s still gleams. Lucy's voice still climbs with wonder when she reaches the $800 Indian head. And somewhere in the space between the printed page and Ball's luminous face, the old dream of sudden fortune remains as alive and as tender as it ever was. That is the enduring power of these minutes. And it is a power I continue to hold close, the way one holds a family story that somehow still explains the shape of longing itself.